Hello, everyone, and it's wonderful to see so many people. So I guess we can start, okay? Um, so, 1 second. Hey. All right. So a little bit about myself. My name is Anna Basarab, and I'm CELTA SLP trainer at ILC Kiev, and also I'm an international speaking examiner. So today we're going to talk about teaching grammar, and we'll compare the ways how we were taught and how we can teach it better. So just a little question to begin. So why do we teach grammar? Can you type a couple of answers in the chat, please? Just 1-2 minutes. Okay. All right. It's very nice. Right. So let's compare with the answer I have. All right. So there are many reasons. So to begin with, it's probably a little bit easier to teach, and we can do it in a more or less straightforward way. We can present it in a like piece by piece, especially at lower levels. So we can start, for example, with positive form, then we can move on to negative, and then we can cope with question forms. And we can also apply separate exercises for that, and students can kind of have a feeling that they deal with big piece of grammar, but just step by step. Sometimes our students have a feeling that learning grammar is a lot simpler than learning everything else. For us, it's easier to test grammar because there are so many exercises and so many tests designed by publishers, and there are various options online. And because there's always a book where we have it, and we usually use books to teach our students. So it's always there, and we can do it. And of course, the reason for our students to learn it is because they need to communicate their thoughts. They need to be more accurate and, in a way, become even more fluent speakers. So, I'm going to show you two types of how we can deal with grammar. So take part in a short demo, demo number 1, and just put yourselves in the learner's shoes and say at the end, say how you felt as if you were a learner. So look here, we have a sentence. I've been learning English for 7 years. So it's a present perfect continuous tense. And we use present perfect continuous with for and since to talk about actions which started in the past and are still now. We've got another example of present perfect continuous. She has been cooking all day. In this case, we use present perfect continuous to talk about actions which started in the past, continued for some time, and usually just finished. If we look at for and since, so we use them to indicate either a starting point in the past or a period of time. So all these, just a second. Oopsie, sorry. So all these still indicate that the time period is not finished. So how we make sentences with present perfect continuous. So if we look at positive sentence, we need a subject. If it's I, you, we, they, we use have or short form with apostrophe v plus been plus verb ing. If we use he, she, it, then we use has. The short form is apostrophe s plus been plus verb ing. Negative form, we just basically add not to have or has and still keep been verb ing. For question form, we put have or has before subject, and after subject we use been plus verb ing. For short answers, usually we use yes, I or you, we, they have. For negatives, no, I, you, we, they haven't. If it's for he, she, yes, he, she, it has. No, he, she, it hasn't. All right. Now, at the end of this, so type in the chat, how did you feel as a learner, as if you were a learner? Okay. All right. Okay. So at least, yes, our students feel bored. How much involvement was there from your side? Okay. Yes, you were just listening, right? Okay, thank you. Now let's have a look at the second part. Second demo. So again, experience it as if you're a learner and say how it's different from the first one. First, look at these pictures. And can you tell me at the beginning, where can you see these pictures? And what do they look like? Okay. Yeah. Somewhere, so they look like articles, headlines of articles from newspapers or magazines. Of course, yeah, they could be from course books as well. So please look at the title and the picture. There are 3 articles. What do you think happened in the stories? So can I ask you to take 1 minute to yourself? Can you maybe take notes on a piece of paper or remember your ideas? Okay. When you're ready with your 3 ideas, can you put a plus or thumbs up in the chat? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so 10 more seconds. All right. Now, I'm going to show you these 3 texts. And for each text, I will give you only 30 seconds. Can you please read the text and check if you guessed what the story is about or not? Okay. All right. So remember, we have only 30 seconds to read. Okay. And start. Okay, 10 more seconds. Right. Right. And our next text, again, 30 more seconds. Ten seconds. Okay, and text number 3. Okay, 5. All right. So, oops, stop where you are. So, did you guess the information in the text? All right. Good. Great. Very well. Okay. So now I'm going to show you the sentences. Some sentences I picked up from the text. So here we have the sentences. So I'll ask you some questions about the sentence. First, can you please read the 4 sentences? All right. So if you look at these sentences, so do they refer to real or hypothetical situation? Can you write 1 or 2? Oh, good. So does each sentence refer to the past or the past and present?
No. No. Parole.
Okay, so okay. Right. So if we look at sentence number 1, is it past or present? Okay, if you look at sentence number 2. All right. What about number 3? Okay, past. And if we look at number 4, the last sentence. Okay. So the last sentence goes to past and present. So if you look at part, first part, if he hadn't jumped down there, so it's about the past. So we have the baby wouldn't be alive. So it's about the present. So yes, there was a right answer. So the last one, it's the mix between the two situations, the hypothetical past and like unreal present. All right. Now let's look here. On the piece of paper, I won't ask you to write in the chat. So for yourself, can you please use these words and fill in the gaps to finish the rules? When you're ready, can you please type plus in the chat? Thank you. Okay. 10 more seconds. All right, I'm sure you're ready. So let's look at the answers and check. I'm sure that you've done everything right. Just to double check yourself. Okay, so we've got everything right, I'm sure. Okay, now let's look here. So can I ask you to say these 4 sentences to yourself? Pronounce them as if you're saying them in a real life conversation. And can you match them with a pronunciation A, B, C, or D? Again, on a piece of paper. Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you very much for your answers. All right, so I'm going to show you the answers so you can compare. Everyone has no mistakes. That's great. So when we pronounce this all together as so do modal verbs and have, do they get contracted? Do they get together? All right, yes, they do. Okay, very well. And now I would ask you, of course, without unmuting yourself. So I'm going to play the recording. I'll pause it after each sentence. And can I ask you to close your eyes? Just listen and repeat it to yourself. You can speak out loud if you want to. Okay, So are we ready? Tiny second.
Unit 8. Behavior. Recording 1. 1.
I would have done the same.
Oops, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, PowerPoint stopped working. Okay, I'll do it then myself. I'll say the sentences myself, and can you please listen and repeat out loud, but without unmuting yourself. Okay, so I would have done that myself. The same. I would have done the same. Next, I might have behaved differently. I might have behaved differently. Okay, 3. I wouldn't have been so brave. I wouldn't have been so brave. Okay, number 4. I couldn't have done what he did. I couldn't have done what he did. Okay. And so now think about this experience as a learner. And can you type in the chat how you felt if you were a student? So the second one was a little bit more involving. Of course, when you do it in real life classroom, your students can answer, not just type in the chat. And if you teach online, your class can answer. But luckily, there are so many of us. So today we just had to use the chat to answer the questions. But you were also, I hope you felt more involved than in the previous demo. Okay. So let's continue. Right. So now here are the stages of the second demo. So can I ask you to work on your own for like 2-3 minutes? And can you please reconstruct the order? There are 2 last stages which we technically didn't do, but they're present in any grammar lesson. I'll give you 2-3 minutes. Okay, 1 more minute. 30 more seconds, please. All right, so now I'll show you the answers. Could you please compare and see if you got everything right? Once you've compared, could you please put plus in the chat if you're ready? Thank you. You. Thank you, thank you. All right. So when we teach grammar, right, in any piece of grammar, if you can see, we start basically with meaning. Yes, here's our meaning. And we also need to check if our students understood the meaning of grammar item. We do this. Our students need to know how to make sentences with our target language. And we focus on pronunciation because our students need to know how to say the sentence, especially if it's a sentence like a complex one, like we did with this would have or wouldn't have, might have. Yes, for us as teachers, it's easy because we know how to say this. But when your students learn this for the first time, of course, they need to practice a little bit with the help of their teacher to be more confident pronouncing this complex structure later when they do their speaking tasks or they use the language in their real life. So try to recollect the first demo. And can you tell me what was missing from these circled things on the board? Can you type in the chat, please? What was missing? What didn't I do when we were talking about present perfect continuous? All right, that's true. We didn't deal with pronunciation at all. There was nothing. Okay. Okay. Yes, so we didn't read the text, of course. I just gave you the sentences and I explained the rules. I didn't check if you. I only told you about the grammar. I didn't check if you understood it or not. And we didn't even touch any items of pronunciation or any features of pronunciation whatsoever. So when we deal with meaning, it's essential to check if our learners actually understood what the grammar item is about. So can we think of any possible ways of how we can do it? How can we check the meaning? Mm-hmm. See? All right. So we can ask our CCQs about the sentences. Mm-hmm. But these sentences usually come through a text, right? So first, if you remember, we read 3 texts about the stories. Mm-hmm. And all those sentences, they came in the text. Mm-hmm. So they were connected to particular context, which later we can use, right, to ask our CCQs. Mm-hmm. So we can ask our question. Are there any other ways how we can do that? Are there only CCQs that we can use, or as a full name concept checking questions? Okay. So get a couple of ideas. Okay, so we'll see what's on the list. Right, so we can use timelines, especially effective if you're teaching tenses, and they make the whole thing visual for students. All right. Mm-hmm. So we can use the matching exercise when they match, for example, sentence to its meaning or similar sentence. Mm-hmm. We can ask them to correct wrong sentences. Mm-hmm. Or choose the correct answer. Mm-hmm. We can ask them either to nod or to show or to mime something, mm-hmm, if it's appropriate. Thank you very much. We can ask them to do some gap fills. Mm-hmm. We can ask them to, for example, finish our sentences. Mm-hmm. And we can ask them to make sentences about themselves, mm-hmm, to see if they got what the grammar is. Mm-hmm. So, but let's go back to concept checking questions. Can you please look at these 5 examples, mm-hmm, and decide which are the most effective ones? Mm-hmm. Can you please type the number? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. So let's look at the answers. Ta-da! Yes, everyone got it right. So if we look back at these, mm-hmm, so the question number, or the example number 1, does it check the concept of not being allowed to do something, or like being banned to walk on the grass? No. So rule number 1, we do not use the target language in our concept checking questions. Number 3, mm-hmm, again, does it check the concept of an action in progress, mm-hmm, when something else happened in the past? Again, no, it asks basically when, yes, the action happened, before or after, but it's technically it's irrelevant here because it doesn't help with understanding of past continuous. And number 4, can you possibly produce this question or even repeat this question in real life? And if your students even hear this, mm-hmm, they can easily get confused and not even and they won't even be able to answer this question because it's so complicated. So if we look at 2 and 5, and you chose them right, why did you like these two sets? Can you type in the chat? What was good about them in your opinion? All right, thank you for your answers. Okay, so to begin with, so they covered all aspects of the meaning, right, of the target language. Then they checked the meaning of the grammar in those cases was, for example, the first example, have to. Yes, it was checking if students understood that it was, or sorry, don't have to, that it was optional and they could do it if they wanted, which is the meaning of don't have to. They were yes or no questions. Sometimes you could also suggest a choice between two answers. Is it this or that? It's also possible, like in set number 5. And as you also mentioned, they were clear and simple. Okay, yes, thank you very much for your answers. All right. So let's practice. So can you choose 2 items of grammar that you like from this list? And can you write your CCQs for these, for the 2 items that you liked? When you're ready with your ideas, can you type a couple of them in the chat? You can write the number of a sentence and your CCQs without retyping the sentence. Okay, well, we have so many examples. Mhm. Okay. Well, so many examples. Now, I will show you the previous slide one more time. And let's look and see if, look through the examples we have and compare. Yes, use these ideas as a checklist. Look through the CCQs we have and see if they match all of these. Okay. So let's analyze together a couple of examples here. So we have sentence number 1. Look, they're painting the wall. So what is the concept? So we know it's present continuous. And the concept of this present continuous is that we can see it. It's about present and it's happening right now. So these are your 3 CCQs. So is it about present? Or you can use present or past. The present. Can you see it right now? Yes. And if you want, the last one could be, is it a finished action? No. Yes, because they're still doing it. If we look at number 2, we've got, if I won the lottery, I'd buy a new car. So we know it's second conditional. And in this case, it talks about unreal situation and unreal situation in the present future. In the technically it could be both. Well, let's take about, to make it a bit easier, let's take about like focus on the future a little bit. So we know unreal situation and future. So what we can ask, is it about present or past? You can say about present, or you can say, is it about future or past? They can say it's about future. Then we say, is it, does he have any money or any money now? No. Does he have a car now? No. So is it real or unreal situation? Unreal situation. So, and maybe you can ask us, is it something you would like to have or to do? Yes. This one, number 3. So I went shopping yesterday. So now it's a past simple, finished action in the past at a particular time. Okay. So first we ask, is it about past? Yes. Is it a finished action? Yes. Do we know when it happened? Yes. So when we ask our CCQs, what do we use to make our questions? What do we think about when we make our questions? Can you type in the chat, what do we need in order to make the correct CCQs about your A grammar item? Okay. Okay. So what do we need to know about the grammar when we form our CCQs? Okay. All right. That's true. I agree. We need to know the grammar ourselves. We need to know the characteristics of the tense. All right. Of course, particular rules. Okay, I agree. And so in order to know all these things like grammar rules, the meaning of grammar, different aspects of its use, where can we find all this? Yes, as ourselves, yes, we can learn either in the grammar focus of the book you're using. Yes, there's always a little box with rules. Or you can open a grammar book if you want to know more than what's written in the course book, and you can read the rules yourself. So when you read the description, yeah, it usually starts, we use past simple to talk about this, this, and this. So you take these three items, and what do we do with these three items? If we talk about finished action in the past at a particular time. So you break down basically the definition of your grammar item, and you change it into yes or no questions. So let's look at, yes, very well. So let's look at number 4. Yes, I'll type the definition in the chat. So we use going to talk about okay. And bearing in mind that we need to use a simplified language, yes, and we check the concept. So let's try and formulate the questions for number 4, which is we know it's going to. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. And we can also, if you draw. Okay. Right. Very well. And the last one, number 6. So we know that it's present perfect and used to talk about. Thank you. So let's look at number 6. So it's present perfect to talk about an action that started in the past and is still true now. Okay. Okay. Yes. So if you look at the amount of questions that you wrote, what do you think? How many? Yes, thank you. Okay. Yeah. So if we look at the example, at the all examples that you wrote for one item of grammar, so how many do you usually need? Okay. So 2, 3, yeah, that's true. Yeah, these are the true, because if you ask only one, it's not going to be enough, because you cannot, kind of finalize everything with just one question. 2, 3 usually is the average number you would ask. I agree with Margarita, saying that it depends on the grammar construction. Sometimes you might need to use 4, rarely 5, but try to stick to the idea that 2, 3 would be the number, the average number you would ask, number of questions you would ask. All right. So thank you for being today. Yeah, so if you prefer QR codes, you can scan and follow us on all these social media. If you haven't taken and you're still thinking of taking the course and becoming even more professional, so we can say we're just about to start our next course. So please, if you're interested, we will be very happy to see you. This is the link to the certificate, and I'm going to post the link in the chat box. All right. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much for being active, even though we couldn't discuss much in our in my presentation, but please join us for any other activities. Follow us, ask us some questions online, and thank you very much for being here. And I'm giving the floor to our next presenter. So have fun, stay safe, and hope to see you sometime on our courses.
Hello. All right, I can see people joining. All right, just give me a second to set everything up. We'll be starting very soon. All right, so yes, well, there are so many people here today. Thank you very much for joining us. And well, I guess we're going to get started with the last part of today's webinars.